Relativity, they dropped a really long update video this week, sharing their progress and looking at the hardware that they've been working on. And one of the big surprises to me is that they have kind of gotten a huge cash infusion from Eric Schmidt. This guy is another one of the billionaires, and he has taken over from Tim Ellis, who's no longer the CEO of Relativity Space. He's still on the board and still a co-founder and still involved. The CEO position has been taken over by Eric Schmidt. That's crazy to me. And in my opinion, it feels like we need to take them a lot more seriously now.
Eric Schmidt. I did that was not on my 2025 bingo card. Like straight up, I did not see this one coming at all.
Me neither. But it's a very, really encouraging development. And with his money, not only is he going to be able to keep them going for a little while, but they're also looking at other ways to expand their operations.
One of the things that I don't think we've talked about a whole lot is with regards to relativity, that they were 3D printing the entire vehicle, and they did fly a fully 3D printed vehicle, or mostly fully 3D printed vehicle. And now they've moved away from that. And I would like to go around the room and get your thoughts on relativity moving away from 3D printing to a more traditional approach to rocket design.
I think that they have realized that they couldn't do everything with 3D printing. They're still going to do a lot with 3D printing. They're still going to do some of the engines with 3D printing, but some of the other structures, like the dome structure near the top of the stages, I kept hearing rumors that kept collapsing on them. So it just wasn't going to work with the way that they had design things. And it was good enough for their first rocket, their Terran-R, which they launched, what was that, in 2023, I believe, for its one and I guess only launch that they'll ever do with that. I think it's interesting that they are still trying to do some stuff and make the most of the tools that they bought, but it's probably a really smart idea to move towards a couple of more traditional ways of doing things just to start flying.
I have to agree with Mike. I don't really think that categorizing it as like abandoning 3D printing or something like that is accurate, because they're still going to be doing the fiddly bits, right? Say engines, they still want to incorporate 3D printing into that manufacturing process. But when you have these huge rings for your massive, liquid methane, liquid oxygen tanks, 3D printing that at this scale just doesn't really make any sense when you can have like steel or aluminium panels that are a fraction of the width to create those rings. You just weld them together. It's quicker, probably cheaper, and also more mass efficient. So it can be useful for the fiddly bits like in the engines, but when you have these huge tank structures, the traditional way sometimes is the best way, because American aerospace has had 60-70 years to realize that maybe making tanks with big sheets of metal is better than trying to, do a little spool that goes up and up and up and up like that, and could be weak and could be bent and could be squashed and
100%. You are looking at an entirely different kind of manufacturing compared to traditional aerospace. Different methods, different techniques, different results, different problems, things that we've just never contended with before. True, literal, bleeding edge building of a vehicle. And they proved that you could do that. Terran-R was 85% 3D printed, and it worked through max Q and went on to stage separation. And then the second stage failed to ignite its engine. So it wasn't a 3D printing issue that ended it. It was a propulsion issue. So let's focus on our bigger rocket. We'll drop Terran-R at this point. And once you go to a bigger rocket, it probably made a lot more sense to just get rid of that 3D printing. They still have those incredible 3D printers, some of the largest metal 3D printers in the world at their disposal. So I can't imagine they're going to get rid of all of it, especially with the philosophy of someone like Tim Ellis, behind the company, with his work that he did at Blue Origin, bringing in that metallic 3D printing and changing their attitudes on manufacturing at Blue Origin with that, to the point that he eventually said, this is not innovative enough and I'm going to go start my own company. And then, cold emailing Mark Cuban for $500,000 to get started in getting it. Switching from Terran-R to Terran-R, in my perspective, they lost a lot of momentum in doing that. simply because they had been so focused on making 3D printing a part of their landscape, their ecosystem of how they're going to manufacture, to switch over to much more traditional aerospace ways and means. Ended up having to probably change a bit of their culture on the interior as well. But ultimately, a bigger vehicle is probably going to require you to stick, at least for now, with those traditional aerospace techniques.
Wasn't Relativity's whole shtick 3D printing because they realized that once you get to the moon or to Mars, you're not going to want to build these HABs. You're going to want to 3D print them, right? Like anything you do in space, you're not going to want to bring just the raw material. Well, you're not going to want to bring all of that. You're going to want to just bring aluminum powder and then print from that, or whatever the case is.
The moon, where you have no atmosphere, it should be significantly easier to do that metallic 3D printing there. So in theory, obviously somebody's got to go do it. Nobody's done that yet, but I don't know. Maybe in a future lander, someone will do it.
Maybe there's a game plan that I'm just not seeing, right? Because like obviously we're not privy to all of the things, but okay, cool. We're moving away from 3D printed, and I get it. Like 3D printed fuel tanks, how much sense do those make here on Earth? But I don't know. What if you think bigger?
I feel like in the near term, they're trying to, what can we accomplish now with what we have? And by moving towards some of these traditional things, it leaves the door open that we can upgrade this stuff in the future, but we need to get launching now because we have over $1 billion worth of contracts, customers waiting to launch. And those customers signed up with them because the largest aerospace company in the world, SpaceX, is booked. I mean, they're doing an incredible job in launching more than anybody else, but it's kind of gotten to this point where it's just like, okay, now all this demand has been created for other launches, competitors to Starlink, and all the different science missions. Synthetic aperture radar is really popular now, all sorts of Earth observation missions. There is this huge demand for launch now. So it's just like, okay, we've got the contracts, but we don't get paid until we deliver. So in the short term, let's deliver with what we have right now, and then we can upgrade that stuff in the future and bring in a lot more of that innovative stuff.
In that video they released, they have a clear roadmap of what they want to do, not only with the company, but with Terran-R. They want to bring that booster back. You know, reusable rockets is very obviously now what people need to be doing. And reusable rockets at this scale, right now, we have SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Relativity developing at this scale. So it's exciting to see.